Have you ever wondered how people laughed, played, and entertained themselves without a single screen in sight? What did joy sound like before Spotify? How did they pass the hours when the sun went down and the only light came from a flame? And would you last even one night in their shoes? Picture this. The year is 1842. Outside, the sky is sinking into black. Inside, your world is a single flickering oil lamp and the steady tick of a handmade clock. No tick-tock, no background noise, no glowing notifications pulling at your attention. Just the slow, breathy quiet of another long evening. And yet, you're never really bored. In fact, you're laughing so hard it hurts. Someone's uncle just made a fool of himself in a game of fox and geese. The kids are whispering ghost stories under a quilt. And your grandmother is clapping in time as your brother plucks out a crooked little tune on a fiddle he carved himself. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Watch until the end, because every detail will give you goosebumps. Let's slip back into that candlelit world together. By the time supper's cleared and the hearth is glowing low, you've already forgotten the aching chores of the day. The real entertainment begins, not with gadgets or gadgets glow, but with the gathering of voices. You sit close, shoulder to shoulder, wrapped in a scratchy wool shawl that still smells faintly of wood smoke. The flames crackle, casting shadows like puppets on the walls. This is when stories come out. Someone always starts with gossip. Who got caught stealing a chicken? Who's courting who? Or which neighbor swears they saw a witch by the creek last week? But it's not just idle talk. It's connection, memory, and local news rolled into one. Historians still argue whether such oral storytelling was more entertainment or social glue, but either way, you're hooked. Then the candle games begin. Try shadow tag, where you twist your hands into shapes and guess what creatures appear on the wall. Or, the minister's cat, a word game where each turn reveals a new adjective for a very judgmental cat. The minister's cat is an angry cat. The minister's cat is a bashful cat. Miss a beat, and the laughter stings your pride. Some families even played snap apple, where you try to bite a swinging apple tied to a string, while avoiding the one with a tiny hidden pin inside. Old-timey pranks had teeth. The beauty is in the simplicity. These nights taught patience, listening, and how to make magic from thin air. You didn't need much, just warmth, voices, and time. And when the shadows start to fade and the room hushes, someone pulls out a fiddle or spoons. Because talking wasn't the only way to fill the silence. The fiddle usually speaks first. It's old, maybe older than your grandfather, but it sings like it's alive. One cousin plays, another claps, and just like that, your kitchen floor becomes a dance hall. You don't need proper shoes. Just bare feet on worn pine planks. Thumping in rhythm, spinning with whoever grabs your hand first. Laughter spills like spilled cider. Music isn't background noise here, it's the main event. And everyone has a part to play. Your brother beats rhythm on an upside-down washtub with a broomstick and string. What folks call a gut bucket bass. Your little sister shakes dried corn in a tin can. And that neighbor who never says much? He hums a deep drone that makes the windows tremble. Homemade instruments were often born of need. But they ended up full of soul. People in the 1800s danced hard. Not the stiff, proper waltzes you might imagine, but wild reels, jigs, and square dances that left you breathless. These gatherings weren't just for fun, they were courtship, celebration, and stress relief all rolled into one. Historians still argue whether frontier music was more Celtic, African, or Appalachian at its heart. But it didn't matter then. You just danced until your legs gave out. And here's a secret. No one cared if you were good. What mattered was that you showed up and gave yourself over to the moment. The lesson? Joy doesn't have to be polished. Sometimes, it's better when it's just messy, sweaty, and real. Eventually, the music slows. Someone yawns. You stretch out your legs. Cheeks warm, heart thudding. But don't get too cozy, tomorrow's the town gathering. And something wild is always bound to happen there. The morning smells like fried dough and horses. You've barely had time to lace your boots before the sound of fiddles, bells, and shouting floats in from the road. It's fair day. Or maybe it's a church picnic. Or perhaps a traveling medicine show has set up in the field by the old mill again. Whatever it is, you're going. These gatherings are the closest thing you have to a theme park. music festival, and town hall all in one. Everyone shows up: the preacher, the blacksmith, the kids who usually throw rocks at each other, all suddenly civil and smiling. There's a pie contest, a greased pole with a ham at the top, a fortune teller with more rings than teeth, and if you're lucky, a traveling showman who'll promise miracle cures, then vanish before anyone asks for refunds. This was social media before the internet. You'd trade news, flirt behind hay bales, maybe buy a peppermint stick if you had a penny to spare. One day, the highlight might be a fire eater. Another, it's a brass band playing patriotic marches. Historians still debate whether these events were more religiously driven or community-led entertainment, but for you, it's all just magic. And the joy wasn't just in watching, it was in joining. You might get pulled into a sack race, or sing in a group hymn so loud it rattles the tin roof of the church. There's something powerful about being part of something bigger than yourself, even if just for one summer afternoon. Eventually, the crowd thins, the sun sinks low, and someone, always someone, says, "Same time next year?" You head home, pockets sticky with candy and ears still ringing. But back in your own yard, things aren't always so wholesome. Some folks have stranger ways of having fun. Some nights, fun came with bruises, or maybe just a little fire hazard. Because when you're living without screens, without phones, and without even a proper ball to kick, playtime gets creative and sometimes dangerous. Take fire jumping, for instance. Kids would dare each other to leap over low campfires, especially around harvest festivals. Most cleared it, some didn't, but the thrill of mid-air flight, the gasp of the crowd, and the pride of not singeing your hem, it was irresistible. Then there was grinning for a pig, where you'd stick your head through a horse collar and try to win a pig by making the most ridiculous face. Sounds silly, but a pig was a month of food. Stakes were high. Some games were borderline insane. In certain German-American communities, folks played fox tossing, yes, tossing actual animals on blankets in a contest of height and chaos. Thankfully, that one didn't stick around. Historians still argue whether these kinds of spectacles were rooted in tradition, cruelty, or just the desperate need for a thrill. Probably a mix of all three. Even something as innocent as a foot race might involve running barefoot across gravel or through a gauntlet of taunting cousins. There were greased pig chases, log rolling contests over rivers, and wrestling matches that ended with black eyes and bragging rights. You learn a lot from this kind of fun. That pain is temporary, that laughter sometimes costs a scrape, and that when life gives you boredom, people will invent joy, even if it leaves a scar. Still, not every form of play was wild. Some of the deepest, most lasting pleasures happened in total stillness, alone, with nothing but your thoughts, a pen, or a winding forest path. Not every evening needed laughter or a crowd. Sometimes, joy came quietly. You'd lie belly down on a creaky wooden floor, chin propped on your hands, eyes flicking across the yellowed pages of a borrowed book. If you were lucky, it was something thrilling, the last of the Mohicans. Maybe, if not, it was a worn almanac or your older cousin's diary that you weren't supposed to read. Still, it carried you far from chores and woodpiles. Solitude wasn't lonely back then. It was a kind of freedom. You might sneak away to sketch birds by the river, write secret poems in the barn loft, or stare up at clouds and imagine life beyond the hills. Daydreaming was a skill, not a distraction. Historians still argue whether this introspection was shaped by isolation or by necessity, but either way, it created thinkers, dreamers, storytellers. You remember how your grandmother would sit with her Bible open, not reading, just letting the silence wrap around her like a shawl, or how your cousin carved little animals out of soap when no one was watching. These small acts didn't look like fun, but they soothed something deeper. Books were rare, so each one felt sacred. You'd reread the same chapters until the words lived in your bones. When the lamp oil ran low, you'd recite them aloud from memory, your voice whispering through a house already halfway asleep. There's a gentle power in learning how to enjoy your own company. In today's world of constant buzzing and blinking, it's a lost art, but one worth reclaiming. And now, as we slip out of that century and back into your own, let's soften the light, quiet the noise, and take one last breath in that still, flickering space. What do you think about this topic? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel And hit the bell to stay updated on our latest videos. We'd love to hear from you. For now, goodbye and see you next time.